When you look at the data, you go, wait a minute, all the things we believe are just not true. The whole idea that it's nature's spuric food, that it's a great sports drink, that it helps you lose weight, that it's better for your bones, is just pure nonsense. There's no need to drink milk at all, zero. Research shows that higher intakes of both calcium and dairy products may increase a man's risk of prostate cancer by 30 to 50%.
In Bulandshahr, 4 godowns owned by milk trader Ajay Agarwal were raided and 100 quintals of synthetic milk was seized.
Few of you might know that 75% of global population is lactose intolerant. Very famous documentary known as Cowspiracy. The conspiracy is all about how the entire dairy industry is trying to suppress the scientific discourse on lactose intolerance. There are hormonal injections which are fed into the cow. So when you consume that heightened level of high hormone milk, you are consuming estrogen, which is linked to cancer as well. I am someone who has been raised in a household where my parents also taught me that if you chug a glass of milk every day, you will grow on to be stronger and healthier. And I don't think that's just my parents. And I don't think they are to be blamed as well. I think most of our parents have maybe caught many of us red-handed when we were throwing a glass of milk that's filled with nutrition, and that's a complete meal in itself. I'm also someone who has gone completely off dairy since the last 5 months, and I'm someone who has actually reversed my mildly to high cholesterol levels. Over and above, I am someone who has lost insane amount of weight as well. A majority of that contribution is going completely off dairy. But why are we discussing this in today's deep dive session? Because recently there is an announcement of White Revolution 2.0 by the current government, which aims to boost the dairy industry by empowering rural women and promote self-sufficiency. Now, anyone who understands policies and politics of India might be able to say that this is for the betterment of our society, because India is home to millions of farmers. Their livelihood is at stake. Milk and dairy contributes to 4% of the national GDP. But is the entire picture completely painted with just the GDP numbers and the farmer, or are we missing out on something? But before we get into Dairy 2.0 or White Revolution 2.0, how is that White Revolution 1.0 really different than the current modern times White Revolution 2.0? And when we, by the way, talk of White Revolution and when we talk dairy in today's class, we are primarily talking of cow's milk and buffalo's milk. The main distinguishing feature between the White Revolution 2.0 and White Revolution 1.0 is the scale and the technology with which we are going to be dealing in White Revolution 2.0. The adulteration involved, the ethics involved as well. So while there is a push to industrialize and expand the dairy sector in India, it has also sparked an interesting debate about health crisis, about ethicality involved, and also about the environmental implication. And is the picture as pure and as simple as we are painting it out to be, or is there a vote bank involved? So first we will uncover the challenges. What is reality of White Revolution 2.0 through challenges, right? And the angles would be number 1, the ethical dilemma of large scale dairy production. Number 2, the health implication of dairy consumption. Number 3, the political motivations behind White Revolution 2.0. And number 4, the role of dairy industry and overall medical industry as well in this. The first why. Why are we in this situation? Why are we talking about White Revolution 2.0? So India is the largest producer and largest consumer of milk. And do we know that majority of the Indian milk is banned in Europe? We do not even clear their standards. And here we are the largest producer and the largest consumer. So much so that it is contributing 4% to our national GDP. This sector employs 70 million rural households alone. Huge vote bank. So dairy initiative directly impact your rural communities' livelihood, especially women, making this an extremely strong political move. Are there any true sincere benefits to cow's milk and buffalo's milk that we have been taught to have, that we need to chug for complete health, or it's a complete food? Most researchers, in fact, supporting dairy is supported or funded, interestingly, by dairy industry itself. In fact, the agriculture secretary in US was formerly serving in the dairy ministry. In fact, there is a very big sham campaign in US. What is that sham campaign? Got Milk, where ministers and celebrities would have white mustache over and above their lip and will ask, have you had milk? In fact, in US, it's such a big sham that public schools will not get their budget for school lunch if they do not add dairy to the lunch of the children. Why? Because those budgets eventually come, that funding come from the dairy industry. So why the government is pushing for White Revolution 2.0 on the face of it? Of course, may economically empower further certain rural households and women. But in true essence, it seems like a strong political move. In fact, we all know that organizations and cooperatives such as Amul, based out of Gujarat, have very strong and deep connections with political leaders. Political speeches emphasize on women's empowerment, though critics argue that this is a populist move. So that's your first why. Let's move towards the second one. My second one is, why does dairy industry remain so influential? In fact, there is a popular Netflix series, What the Health. This journalist, come a commoner just like you and me, has struggled with heart attack of his grandfather and father. And he is really scared to death that heart attack or heart related problems are running in his genes. And by now far, we all know and understand that burgers and pizzas are nothing but a direct source of carcinogenic material and heart diseases. So he's like, I am all sorted. I am not going to have these packaged food, soda drinks. They're nothing but just a can of sugar, and hence I'm going to be mostly fine. But then there comes a time where his heart related diseases also start coming up, like high cholesterol level. That is when he gets really deep into the industry of processed meat, most importantly dairy. And most of the chairmen that he want to talk to, the Dairy Council and many other think tanks which are commenting on dairy, they refuse an interview to him. And he's just so perplexed. Why the hell are they not talking about dairy? In fact, if you go on those websites, Dairy Council, they will, in fact, if anything, they will suggest to curb cancer will be again dairy product. Eventually, to only find that the National American Health Association, the National Anti-Cancerous Associations, etc., who all are funding those associations, the processed meat and dairy industry. So who is going to tell you that your food is carcinogenic or not? These think tanks and councils? And these think tanks and councils, the dairy industry is such a big, huge industry that they are controlling the narrative through these councils. And that's the similar scenario in India. But we will also say that in this 2025 January masterclass, we are talking about modern dairy. What do we mean by modern dairy? We are particularly talking about cows and buffaloes. In fact, there is a classification within it as well, A1 and A2. And majority of us consume, if we consume, it's the A1 milk if you're not drinking the chemical wala milk. So if you still get lucky and you're drinking a cow's milk, most of us are consuming A1 milk because the A2 cow is extremely rare to breed. So with that, we move towards the third why. And by the way, so many people could argue, Shatakshi, you are picking up a battle against dairy, you are making arguments anti-dairy. What about so many gullible farmers whose income is so low and maybe this narrative could hurt them? But just because certain industry employs thousands of individuals doesn't justify the evil of the industry. If we are saying that dairy should be promoted because it's employing millions of rural households, then we should go on and promote the alcohol 1.0 also, because there was no 1.0 before. Do you see how poorly this argument is constructed? Why? Because all we are focused on is on vote bank. Now, when you think of this problem, there is a political angle, there is an ethical angle. We have covered the political angle. We will soon cover the ethical angle as well. But the majority of the issue is the health angle that most of us don't know, our parents don't know, right? Now, when it comes to something as popular as dairy milk, right? Dairy milk, what a name for a chocolate. Bound to become a hit. But coming back, milk, right? You divide things in the health bucket into two parts. Number one, benefit. Are there any real benefits to milk? So many people will say that whenever you question milk, what is the scientific research? Where is the scientific evidence that milk is hazardous to your health? But most of the scientists would say, where is the goddamn research that proves the fact that milk is needed for your health? Of course, a mother's breast milk is needed when we are infant. But few of you might know that 75% of global population is lactose intolerant. That's why many of your parents, in fact, including you and me, will feel a little bloated after having milk, right? So one side is benefits. Most of the scientists have argued that no amount of good scientific research has been conducted to prove that milk is absolutely needed for our health, especially cow's milk and buffalo's milk. Many people would argue, Shatakshi, what about calcium? What about vitamin D? Where does the cow get its calcium from? The grass. In fact, there is nothing called as calcium deficiency in modern humankind unless you're really screwing up your diet. Without milk, even if you're having healthy plants and vegetables, you're largely fine. These are marketing gimmicks that have been taught and fed into us. There are multiple alternatives such as sesame seeds, tofu, chia seeds that can very easily handle our calcium benefits. For those who are fish eaters, can compensate for vitamin D through sardines. And then on the other side, we talk of active negative impact of milk. So one is we are questioning the benefits of milk. In fact, any research study that proves that milk is beneficial for your health, go and check who funded that research study. Whenever you are in doubt, just go and check who is funding which organization, which institution, which study. People want to eventually have propaganda around their own organization by having paid research studies like these. And then comes the potential cancerous risk and inflammation related risk. Industrial production. How does a cow now produce milk? There are hormonal injections like oxytocin and estrogen which are fed into the cow. So when you consume that heightened level of high hormone milk, you're consuming estrogen, which is linked to cancer as well. Why? It's a growth product. That's why kids take it from their mother directly. Calves need it from the cows. So when it's a growth product, it grows cancerous cells as well. And that's why there is active studies and scientific research that's going on. When the world is seeing unprecedented level of cancers, why are we not able to stop it? Where is this cancer really come from? And if you still want evidence, one of my favorite YouTube channel, Dr. Mark Hyman, go and check him out. His research emphasizes his own research, the carcinogenic effect of modern dairy practices. And once again, another great show on Netflix, which is What the Health, which have very clear testimonials and evidences of people who eventually left dairy. What were the good health benefits they all got, especially starting with anti-inflammation. In fact, scientific evidence proves that dairy inflammation properties disrupt your gut microbacteria. Whenever patients have been taken off dairy, they have shown improved symptoms, better cognitive abilities also, even though they were initially suffering from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And we know that 75% of the global audience is lactose intolerant. I will be safe to say that in fact in India it is 90% of us who are lactose intolerant. The only current race which is lactose still tolerant is living around the region of Baku. It's the evolutionary mechanism because of which they become a relatively more lactose tolerant. In fact, there's a very famous documentary funded by one of the leading Hollywood actors known as Cowspiracy. The conspiracy is all about how the entire dairy industry is trying to suppress the scientific discourse on lactose intolerance. There's a whole industry versus scientists, and are doctors playing all good? Are hospitals playing all good? Why are doctors and hospitals rarely advocating against dairy? You will not go to a doctor and they will not tell you to go to drop cow's milk. Why? In fact, there is a secret video of a doctor. He wanted to meet a journalist, but and he's working for a hospital, leading hospital in US. At the last minute, he gets chicken feet, and the doctor's secretary comes for an interview. It's there on Netflix on What the Health. And the secretary says that we know the negative downsides of dairy milk. We know the negative downsides of processed meat as well. The doctor strongly wants people to have good health, but it's the hospital who doesn't want the doctor to speak. If the doctor will speak against dairy, how will the consumer get ill and they come to the hospital? So the people or the stakeholders in the society that we have trust, whenever a doctor comes in white coat, that's the trust, right? But if the doctor is feeling shy to speak against dairy, whom will we trust? And that's why I say that dairy is not just a scam, it's a mafia. The governments are involved. The dairy industry is involved. The think tanks are involved. The hospitals and doctors are involved. The medical education, if you have gone through, will very easily omit the dairy's role in chronic diseases. And that's why, for example, if I were to have a personal anecdote, I met a 70-year-old lady yesterday. I'm not kidding. She looked less than 45. And she was telling me how she has gone completely vegan. Vegan may seem like a fad, and I understand it's an expensive way of living life. But we have been just so consumed by marketing. Dairy today is like the Kellogg cornflakes branding that we used to see on television. To have a slim waistline, have Kellogg's in the morning. There cannot be a bigger scam than that. You're asking kids to have sugar at the start of your day. Let's move towards the ethical issue. Just imagine 15 injections getting injected into you daily so that you could produce a baby. And when your moment comes to breastfeed, they bring the baby very close to you to only induce the hormone of milk growth and then take the calf away. We live in a world where we talk all ethics, but we don't walk all ethics. One of my favorite recent, Richard Green, he's an author. He quotes Machiavelli very often. And he mentioned in his book, Seduction and 48 Laws of Power, he said that Machiavelli, at the peak of his career, was telling people people don't listen to what they say. Don't listen. People have a mask. All of us, by the way, have a mask. We have a mask in front of our parents, the way we talk to our employer, the way we talk to our teachers. It's different, right? So all of us have a mask. In fact, children are the best at having masks. Have you seen children's behavior changing based on with whom they are interacting? And he actually had the audacity to comment on Pope of Italy back then. The Pope was talking of all moral values, religious sentiments, and all ethical values. But what was the Pope doing in action? The Pope was amassing an army, and the Pope was expanding the army as well. What did that mean? That the Pope was after power. And that's why when we talk of ethics, pick up any religious leader or pick up any national leader. Don't just listen to what they say. Look at their actions. What are they doing? And that's the same scenario when we're talking of White Revolution 2.0. What will happen to those poor cows? Just because it's a silent species, we don't care about it. So when cows are injected with growth hormones, the calves are often separated from mothers immediately after birth. However, the first right, like in Homo sapiens, the first right of that milk is of the baby. Similarly, the first right should have been of that calf, but the calf mostly doesn't get that milk. Depending upon the gender, if it's a male calf, will unfortunately go to slaughterhouse. If it's a female one, will go through that cycle of growth hormonal injections again and again. This is the right ethical message to give to all of you today. And if it is based on scientific research and evidence, you will talk to 2 more people. Those 2 more people will talk to 2 more people. And I don't want to just look like an extreme left-wing person who's not doing anything about it. The fact that in my protein milkshake every day I had a convenient cow milk going into it and I stopped it, I played my part, right? And I'll tell you, replacements and alternatives also, many a times we all know that we need to quit sugar, but we are not able to quit sugar. Reason? Nobody tells us what to do after quitting sugar, or nobody tells us what should be the replacement of sugar. And that's why I am very proud to announce that soon we are going to be launching an anti-dairy initiative. I know that the name in itself sounds very powerful. I know they may come after me, but I think there is one good thing that my father particularly taught me good in life, which was to be courageous, especially when the moment comes.